What is up, y'all? It's your girl, Alina, back for another video. And in this one, we'll be diving into the 5 things you need to know all about this upcoming November 2022 new moon in the mutable fire sign of Sagittarius. In this video, we'll talk about why this lunation can be a powerful time for looking at our lives from more of a bird's eye view, thinking more broad, and then breaking those things down into actionable steps that are clearly aligned with our highest intentions. We'll also talk the top transits, and as always at the end, I'll offer some custom writing prompts. And before we dive in, if you're someone who enjoys aligning your life with the cosmos, the moon, the stars, and the seasons, then check out the Auralign Astrology Planner. It's my creation. I should probably have the actual planner out. And it not only includes dedicated full and new moon ritual pages, but notifications for all the top astrological events of the year of 2023. They are finally on sale. If you're interested, I've left links on the screen and in the video description. But with that said, let's dive in. First up, why is this moon so important? As many of y'all know, the new moon marks the beginning of a new lunar cycle, where we see that the moon is at its darkest energetic and light point out of the entire period, and its light builds all the way to the peak at the full moon. The new moon is also seen as a time for rest and reflection, not as much about being in action like we see with the full moon. We're not even looking to even build momentum yet when it comes to actualizing our intentions. Now is really the time to allow our mind and body to put energy into visualizing, scripting, and setting intentions. And just as we see the light build in the sky leading up to its brightest point at the full moon, so too will the momentum around the intentions that we set at this time build. The new moon is seen as a very auspicious and energetically charged time because there is nothing ahead of us, nothing but our imagination and intentions that we put forward. This is one of the many reasons why you see people doing new moon rituals, where they write out their intentions to get clear on the new lunar cycle ahead. Now, depending on the sign that the moon will be in during the new moon, along with the transit surrounding it, which we will cover, you can align yourself with this lunar energy at its highest potential. Now, Sagittarius lunations in particular offer us an opportunity to embody and set intentions within the qualities of this mutable fire sign. So that can look like reflecting on, exploring the qualities that we hold, and setting intentions around things like building up courage, independence, adventure, and looking at things from a more bird's eye view. During this lunation, we're experiencing a lot of energetic support when it comes to broadening our horizons, taking leaps of faith, and jumping out of our comfort zones. If you are somebody who has been kind of going through the motions of getting to work, getting to school, having the commute, scrolling constantly, and feeling like you're kind of locked into these routines and these patterns, and you kind of want to start something a little bit different, Sagittarius new moons, this lunar period where it is optimal to start new chapters, new intentions, and in the sign of Sagittarius will be a powerful time for breaking out of those patterns. Sagittarius new moons really offer us a lot of support when it comes to looking at our lives from a bird's eye view, when it comes to transcending a lot of the patterns of life that we experience and that we feel like we're maybe too immersed in sometimes. What comes to mind when I look at the transits around this lunation and the qualities of a Sagittarius new moon is people who have midlife crisis or quarter life crises. Now, while those are perfectly normal and okay and a part of the human experience for many of us, a huge aspect of that stems from us not being able to kind of look beyond our day-to-day lives. Oftentimes, we can have these crises because we didn't take enough time to step back and look at our lives from a broad perspective and look at where we're going in life, kind of recheck where our North Star is, kind of check up on, am I in alignment with what I set out to do a few years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago? And a powerful way to prevent some of these moments where we kind of feel lost or we are questioning what direction we're in is taking time to check in and recalibrate. Now, while every single full moon can be an optimal time to do this, the energy around specifically a Sagittarius new moon is incredibly potent. This is actually one of the reasons why I include charts for breaking down your goals into actionable steps, not only in every single new moon ritual ritual page within the Auralign Astrology Planner, but in every seasonal and monthly section. All right, next up, what transits impact this new moon? First up, we see that Sagittarius season begins. So a day before this lunation, we see that the sun enters the sign of Sagittarius, marking the beginning of Sagittarius season. Comment down below if you are Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising. This season brings a lot of energetic support when it comes to stepping out of our comfort zones, looking at things from a broader, sometimes even more philosophical view, and following our curiosities a bit more into some of the more niche or deeper corners of the internet or libraries. By the way, if you hear a cat meowing, it's my cat Coco. Cut it out. I'm working. Now, as many of y'all know, I love highlighting the alignment between the astrological seasons and the seasons here on Earth. Now, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, you know that during the time of Sagittarius season, we see the beginning of a lot of the holidays, that being the US's Thanksgiving leading into Christmas. And what I find interesting is that during Sagittarius season, this season that really sparks a lot of broader perspective of our lives and reflection on things from a broader perspective, looking back on the whole year or what direction we're going in, we see that this is during the time of Thanksgiving, where we gather around with our family members and we often express and reflect upon what sparked gratitude for us this year. Next up, we see that Mercury conjuncts Venus. Now, a conjunction aspect in astrology indicates mutual bolstered energy between the two astral bodies involved. They're really supporting one another, and oftentimes that energy gets blended to the point that sometimes we aren't even sure which planet ends up impacting us more. So we see Mercury, the planet of communication, analysis, information, things that of the air, so the internet and information exchange, conjuncting with Venus, the planet of love and relationships, both in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, with this type of transit, we can often feel much more in touch with the why behind what we love and who we love. This type of transit makes it a lot easier and more fluid to express how we feel. So for any of y'all looking for love or looking for some romance in your pre-existing relationships, this transit is the one for you. Now, while this transit can highlight all of the right reasons that we love things and people and places, it can also highlight some of the wrong reasons. As many of y'all know, when something is spotlighted, it doesn't choose what it spotlights, it just highlights everything. So on one side of the coin, while we can feel a lot more in touch with the why behind what we're doing in life, who we love in life, what we love in life, there can also be highlights of things being revealed that are a lot more superficial or even more heavily influenced from outside sources than we realized. Overall, this transit really helps when it comes to communication, negotiation, socializations, and bargaining. Next up, we see that Mars squares Neptune. Now, square aspects in astrology can often amplify challenges or friction in our lives within the areas of our lives that the astral bodies that are involved impact. That was a very wordy way to describe that, but you get what I mean. And so with this transit, we see Mars, this planet of order, structure, dominance, and action, having a squaring off with Neptune, this planet of the unseen and the imagination. With a transit like this, it can sometimes manifest as passive aggressiveness, paranoia, some levels of jealousy, and just low energy in general when it comes to our interactions. And so when we see a transit like this, it's just really important to pay attention to your gut intuition and take time to process the information that you're experiencing. And I feel like this transit is a perfect example of how with some transits, they can really highlight the truth of things. This is a clear type of transit that can offer confusion. We see that Mars is really this planet that supports us with asserting ourselves and our needs. And it's having this friction with Neptune that really impacts our perception of reality and how that can be clouded when there is a squaring off between the two. And so during this time, taking time to process information, not immediately reacting to things, can offer us the clarity that we need when we might experience potentially clouded judgment. And by the way, if this video is resonating with you, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you're loving it, hit that notification bell because I make videos just like these for every single full and new moon. Next up, we see Mars trining Saturn. So for any of y'all who are discouraged from that last transit, have heart because Saturn is coming in to save the day. Now, a trine aspect in astrology indicates very easy flowing and even lucky energy between the astral bodies involved. And so we see Mars, this planet of order, structure, dominance, and action, trining with Saturn, this planet that's all about responsibility, coming into our own, and maturity. So what's great about this type of transit is that it can often bring in heightened levels of perseverance, ambition, and patience when it comes to going for what we want. This transit specifically helps us with rolling with the punches that life tends to bring us. This is a perfect transit for finally going for that thing that you really want. Or maybe you're already going for it and you're experiencing challenges. If you're really wanting to pick yourself back up, this new moon is a powerful time for that. Speaking of new moon, having this transit at the beginning of a new lunar cycle can really help to cement these actions and habits that you might be implementing to develop and become second nature. And finally, we see a trine between the moon, sun, and Jupiter during this lunation. Now, while this transit isn't as tight of an orb as the other ones, it will bring in feelings of development, growth, and expansion in our inner worlds. And with Jupiter being in Pisces at the time of this new moon, this expansion and growth that we experience will likely be within the realms of our spiritual and emotional lives, all of the qualities that of this water sign. And with the sun being involved, this can be a fruitful time when it comes to accumulating or building material wealth, public approval, and finding alignment between our inner world and our outer world. All right, next up, what are some ways that we can align with this lunar energy? Overall, this lunation brings a lot of energetic support when it comes to going for what we want, even if it's beyond our comfort zones, reflecting and better understanding why our comfort zones are there and where they stem from. Are they legitimate? Are they conducive to how much I want to grow in my life? This new moon is really being bolstered and creating more of an auspicious and lucky time thanks to this trine that we're seeing with lucky Jupiter. So there's a lot of energetic support when it comes to stepping out with confidence and also collaborations between one another thanks to Mercury's play at this time. When it comes to a new moon ritual, it will definitely be fruitful to set intentions and reflect upon this last lunar cycle relative to the qualities of Sagittarius. So that includes how we might have approached things in terms of our confidence. How much more adventurous do we want to maybe be during this new lunar cycle in trying new things, whether that's for leisure, in our relationships, or even in work, trying new approaches. This new moon is a powerful time for really stepping back and looking at this previous lunar cycle, this season, as we get closer to the beginning of winter season, and reflecting on our wins, our highlights, along with our challenges and our lessons. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we can often experience quarter life or midlife crises when we get too pulled into the day-to-day and we don't take a moment or a few moments every few weeks or maybe every lunar cycle at the new moon to reflect upon what direction we're going in. This new moon is a powerful time for getting back in touch with what your North Star is, what your 5-year goals are, your 1-year goals are, and then getting granular and seeing if your day-to-day is actually aligned with that. All right, let's dive into these new moon writing prompts. If you have your Auralign astrology planner, you can go ahead and flip through to the dedicated new moon ritual page for this month and write it out there. What I'll do is I will post the questions on the screen. I invite you to pause the video, write them out, and when you're done, we'll come back. What do you consider to be your North Star or highest motivation? What big or small act could you do this week in alignment with your broader life goals? Moving into this new lunar cycle, do you have any new intentions or goals? All right, y'all. I hope that you enjoyed those writing prompts. And if you did, and if they resonated, feel free to share them with the class in the comment section because I love replying to them and hearing your takes. What I'm going to do next is answer 1 or 2 of these prompts to kind of give y'all a life update and to spark some conversation. So an intention that I have for the new lunar cycle ahead is to stop caring what other people think of me, you know? As many of y'all know, I released the 2023 Auralign Astrology Planner line that includes, you know, the calendars and all these things, right? And as many of y'all know, if you're in the e-commerce space or if you're a small business or just anybody on social media, the big thing that you're supposed to do is, you know, post TikToks and Reels. And so that's something that I've been working on, but I've just been feeling kind of a resistance to it. And after journaling for it a while, I kind of realized that a lot of it is rooted in my fear of other people's perception of me, namely, you know, people from my past, from my childhood, from school, from family. And something that I learned is actually specifically with my transits, with Saturn being involved, with self-shame and self-consciousness, I learned that a huge aspect of my life path is to break out of that. It's to be exactly who I want to be, to kind of take off the mask of constantly trying to assimilate and understand that when you embody exactly who you are letting other people know that it's perfectly okay to be that way too. And this is why I wanted to share that with y'all. And this is why I'm bringing this up with y'all for a certain level of accountability. I started the Auralign Shop TikTok and I'm making more astrology videos and things, but I still feel self-conscious about it, but I'm going to continue pushing through. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. But if you made it to the end, I invite you to comment 3 bird emojis. And if you want to stay up to date with Auralign flash sales, discounts, along with more astrology content. I'm getting into the more niche things right now on TikTok. Check out the new Auralign Shop TikTok account. But with all of that said, I will leave you with my favorite quote, and that is to be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right. Peace, friends.